Howdy, all you delicious people. I am drafting my own DC Justice League of sorts, putting together a DC team that I'm slapping a weird, bizarre name to, just because it's been such a long time since actually talking about actual just comic book stuff on this channel. And so I thought, why not go on and just make a ragtag team and look at it as like, okay, like I know quite often I am to really enjoy obscure characters. Why not go on and have those obscure characters all just smashed together in a team and call it something? Uh, Here's the interesting thing: there were to go on and be some favorite stuff that, of course, I could not have on this list, but then also there had been quite a bit of new things that kind of came to my attention as like, oh wow, like I have to fit this in a team somewhere somehow and slap a name on it. So with that said, I was to go on and look at quite a bit of just kind of character archetypes to fit within this team. I was to also go on and have some certain challenges to put together for this team. So here's what I did here. I, of course, was to go on and realize that, like, well, Justice League tends to have 7 members, but you know what? Like, there's also, like, Justice League Unlimited, or also you go on to realize that, like, Justice League does have, like, some people manning the Watchtower, or uh, just really in a lot of cases there to go on and be these teams that they do have these kind of inactive characters on the roster, but like they're just still there for whenever a situation is to be dire. So what I chose to do was I wanted to have like 7 members as my core team, but then also have 4 like just kind of inactive characters, or characters that can kind of be rotated into the roster at any point in time, just because I thought that like that could be a good enough number of people for me to be just satisfied about putting a list together, because I was immediately looking at just like 7 members on a Justice League and I'm like, like that just doesn't seem enough to me. And so I was like, okay, so like let's find out the maximum number of like Justice League members that I can actually have on a team. And then I kind of came to the conclusion that a lot of times it's like somewhere between 7 to 11, or an even dozen. But like, so I just decided that I'm like, okay, 11 just sounds good enough. Even though it's an odd number, like it's good enough. So with that said, also with me and how my brain works, immediately what came to mind while putting this list together is like, like there could be quite a bit of foes that could go against this team, because I really, when coming up with this whole story arc and how to put things together, even though all of these characters are kind of estranged to one another, it's not going to be an easy, cohesive thing for all of this to work. Like, I was to go on and start to just come up with like a story in my mind of how all of this can work. Uh, Compared to like the Marvel version of which that I'm also going on and doing of this one didn't really have like an easy origin thing going on. Like in my brain, I would have to go on and have to look at characters maybe like uh, the mentor character that I am going to list off within this team, and state that like maybe this guy is just go on and just be like this more powerful character, that he's really looking at the DC universe and realizing that there is just a gap missing somewhere, that and really looking at it, the DC world goes on and has things build and build and build and build to where things get to a crisis point, to where in my mind I'm like, well, why do you wait for the crisis to happen? Why not just go on and have every day be like let's not have it build to this point. Like let's just kind of get to realize that every day is to be a crisis, and that's where I was to go on and come up with Crisis League. Just because one, when you really think about it, like yeah, like every book should go on and be important, and it seems that DC is to go out of its way to say that a crisis is a big event and nothing else really matters. So if I had to go on and say that this is to be Crisis League, it's just being ironic, simply because you use Crisis to sell all your stories, and you of course have like the word Justice League or League for every goddamn thing, and except for Teen Titans or Young Justice or some goofy name that you kind of slap around with teams. And I could have been a lot more creative with this team name and done something completely different. But the more and more I looked at this name, the more and more like ironic that I really felt that it was. How like I felt so just proud of myself by coming up with a silly name. So Crisis League goes on and has some obscure members, of course, but these obscure members have quite a bit of power to them. So much so that people probably will not go on and think that they are to be powerful characters. But in my mind, they're to have quite a bit of use. And so, with that said, I wanted to just kind of put this team together as a fun exercise. So, otherwise, let's get into it. Also, I have to go on and state that I had one point created my own comic book character and finally figured out some kind of power set more just beyond the fact that he is to go on and just be a character that is to just be this supernatural character and this and that. Like, of course, for probably a DC variation of characters, like instead of having him be more than just like a Constantine or Zentana, or Demon Etrigan or something along those lines. So, with that said, I guess I should go on and reveal this character and then reveal his power set. So, I have to, of course, gone on to create this character. Uh, Originally, I think his name was Grimdeath, but I kind of realized how like vicious of a name that really was, and uh, and speaking of which, like I know for a team like this, you would probably have to go on and thrust them into every heavy hitter that ever is to be in the DC universe, like the dark sides and the Trigons and every stereotypical huge uh, character that you can go on and think of. And I would instead say, like, well, hey, isn't there just a villain that you can just kind of have a bit of fun writing to make a good story, and just instead of like putting a team against this hugely uh, powerful character, because I get that that could probably end up being uh, the obvious thing of like, well, then it's not a real crisis event. I could state that any number of villain could go on and have like a crisis level event. Like it just needs to have a good enough story tied to it, because when really looking at it, like for Identity Crisis, we had Dr. Light, and he's kind of like a nothing villain. But for some reason, like they built a crisis event off of him. So makes a lot of sense in my mind to kind of go on and kind of realize that any event could eventually go on and build to or get to a point where we're calling everything a crisis. So, but anyways, also like there's some kind of ideas that are kind of kicking around in my head as far as like what we can do as far as story. Uh, excuse me. There's to go on in my mind, and I've kind of stated this also in the Marvel team thing. It would be kind of interesting to have like a like infection kind of just going on in the DC universe, where all of a sudden like patient zero all of a sudden is showing signs of aggression or violence and whatever, and all of a sudden when this person is go violent against another person, the infection spreads, and we don't know why this is happening, but it is. And so the further and further everybody starts to get more violent and more aggressive, and we just don't quite understand why. And then this starts to build to then have this team come in to just try and figure out like, okay, why is it that these people are going on and being so aggressive and so violent and so out of control? And this is to be well above the norm. And so we come to find out that maybe the reason why these people are to be this way is maybe because they don't have superpowers, maybe they don't this, maybe they don't that. And eventually we go on to realize that maybe there's some spell being incorporated in this, or maybe there is to be some uncurable thing to it. Also, we can go on and do, of course, a breaking of apocalypse kind of stories where I, of course, had a character within mind of putting a team together because I like this character, because I liked this story, and how basically this whole story kind of breaks out into this kind of like unwinnable scenario that made quite a bit of fun for story reading for me. And it was all about like a zombie outbreak that just kind of went a wild. And I know that DC had gone on to do like its deceased story, and like probably a lot of people can go on and say that the whole zombie angle has kind of been done. And then also a lot of people are like, yeah, you're probably going to go on and do another supernatural team character and uh, team character team. I say yes, and then I say no. Simply because like when looking at these characters, like I tried as much as possible to make them different enough than any list that I'd gone on and said prior, and some new characters to kind of roll in the mix, just because of I found them interesting. But anyways, so there is also to go on and always be like for Justice League. I always found it fascinating the whole like alien invasion angle, where we would go on and just have these random aliens that would come into fray, and then the team would have to go on and take them down. And like Justice League Unlimited really had just some interesting foes there. Also, like we had characters come in like Amazo that I was like, ooh, like Amazo seems to always at some point be a staple for a team to go up against because of how powerful he is. I was also looking at like the Justice League episode where you had like Parasite, and Parasite goes on and tries to take out the entire Justice League, and I was like, ooh, like Parasite is always cool. And anyways, so but the power set of this character to go on and explain him finally. So in my mind, I thought that there is a lot of characters that have cool, amazing powers that are to be just so uh, wild and obscure and whatever. To where I honestly don't want to go on and have my character have just this uber amazing, like, excuse me, absolute power to where, like, he ends up just trumping everybody. That just seems kind of silly to me. But when also looking at it, like, if I can't be like the best superhero, like, then I might as well just have either this goofy power or this worst power, or maybe this power that is be some kind of weird curse of a thing. So what I decided for this character is to have a character that immediately when going into the battlefield quickly dies. And I know what a lot of people are thinking, like, a character that dies right away. That seems stupid. So you're gonna have him as an extra, like this just guy that just gets wasted right away, and then we never see him again. No. In my mind, what I was thinking here is I was thinking that this character can go on and be like the decoy character that dies, and then bizarrely, while the villain is just kind of not uh, to really actually be uh, paying attention, all of a sudden the hero, of course, in this case, uh, Grim Death or San Mundane, of which the name of which that I kind of stuck with this character, he goes on to then just respawn this superhero and attack the villain yet again, to where the villain goes on and kills off uh, this hero yet again, and then he respawns, and then we just have this endless loop of either troubleshooting or having the hero kind of catch this villain by mistake, to where the hero does go on and win. And so, like, obviously you would not go on and have this character probably be your focused character in a team, because it probably after a while could get boring. But like, I was to go on and look at comic book characters like the Heckle, and uh, to know that that character wasn't exactly good, but he would just go on and just kind of tire characters out. So I was like, oh my god, that actually is a really interesting idea. That instead of having to go on and actually be skilled, like, you would just go on and just have this ability that can just respawn you into the fight consistently, to where you can just wear down any opponent. And plus, also, I was thinking of like Doctor Strange in the Doctor Strange movie, where Dormammu would consistently kill him, and then Doctor Strange would just respawn in and say to Dormammu, it's like, Dormammu, I've come to bargain. And then Dormammu is like, what the heck is going on? Like, why is this happening? And Strange would just go on and be like, well, yeah, we're caught in a time loop. Like, you have to go on and you have to tell me, or you have to give in to me, or we're just going to keep doing this until you give in. So that may go on and probably this superpower be very dumb. But in my mind, also, maybe that kind of power can just go on and just be one thing that this character ends up doing, and then maybe at some point he can go on and actually get a much more substantial power that will kind of kick him out of this whole respawn looping kind of bit of thing. But when honestly looking at it, like, I also like saw this kind of like how the Tom Cruise movie Live, Die, and Repeat, or whatever it was, or Edge of Tomorrow. Like, I kind of looked at that to kind of take an idea from this power. So that's kind of what I rolled with. So let me know in the comments below, maybe your own original superhero character, because I didn't go on and ask that in the other video. Or let me know your own superhero DC team, or maybe even Marvel, because I didn't ask that in the other video. Or also, you can go on and let me know what is to be your most rare superhero or villain. Maybe it has a goofy power, maybe it has a goofy ability. or maybe I've gone on and heard of it. Maybe you are to go on and be a fan of any number of these characters that I am to go on and talk about, bizarrely, because that just somehow worked out, and so on and so forth. So, with that said, it's about time to get into this list because I've already been talking for 20 minutes and I've really just gotten nowhere. So, still. Uh, but if anything, I love talking about comic books. I really wish I can go on and do this more somehow. But then again, um, I have a comic book collection. Like, I guess at some point I can kind of dust that off and just kind of showcase my comic book collection as if anybody is probably going to care. But um, at least I'll have that to just kind of ponder about doing this, as well as also like I could go on and review comic books. They won't be like the cutting edge of comic books, but at least it'll be something. Um, it could be just fun to just do that. But anyways, uh, let's go on and let's get into this list. I will have to pause here because kind of where I kind of set this up mistakenly was kind of after the fact, so I kind of have to do some reloading here. So, with that said, let's get into the list. All right, so going into this list, I realized that these characters are very obscure, but while also going into this list, when going through it, was to look at probably more Marvel teams than DC, because in all honesty, when I was kind of looking at the Marvel side of things, I was looking at like, okay, who could be my Martian Manhunter? Who could be my Superman? Who could be my so and so fit to archetyped kind of thing? So when putting Crisis League together, like I was thinking, like, well, like I could probably put funningly together a seemingly interesting ragtag of team that seems probably to be the equivalent of a lot of Marvel characters more so than anything. But then also, I have to state here that probably any number of these characters via the actual DC universe could end up being dead or to be written off comic books because it's so hard for the DC world to come up with stories with these characters, or there could be obvious reasons of why these characters don't exist, just because of the way of which that the DC universe is to be built. Because we have at certain points certain characters that are to be on different Earths now, and that can go on and cause some story problems of how certain characters are to go on and exist in the plane of existence and whatever. And I just look at that and I am just like, well, like I just want to put this character together, and if really when it comes down to it, you can retcon all you want and come up with a different origin story of these characters, and also uh, like it's just a fun exercise regardless of how like logically things are to actually be in the DC world. Plus also like I try to avoid having so many characters on here that are to be in obvious teams right now. I try to find more of like free agent like characters, even though when looking at it there's kind of a certain number of characters on this list that I kind of begrudgingly just wanted to put on here, even though like I've probably seen them in a good number of teams throughout time, as well as also assuming that they probably at this point are on some team right now in the comic book universe, maybe a Justice League Dark, or uh, also just any number of random team that it seems that the DC universe is to plop out nowadays. Maybe at one point they were at Justice League Europe, or they were in so and so Shadow Pact, any number of things. Maybe this is going on and probably really narrowing it down who exactly I'm picking. But regardless, uh, this was a real fun exercise to me, even so much so that I was kind of looking at the villain side of things. And so by the end of this, maybe I can go on and put some kind of show together and pitch this, even though it probably will be half baked. But half baked is better than no baked at all. So, with that said, let me pause here and let me also go on and get my cell phone because I'd forgotten it over off to the side there, and there is some bit of names of which that I have to rattle off at some point. That is to go on and kind of help me for this list. So with that said, I'm going to pause here and we'll start to get this list rolling. All right. So when looking at this list, like it's not all about who is the most uberly powerful character. There's sometimes where realistically there is really good characters on a team to where you're really just kind of looking at certain characters that you can just have a lot of fun with. And also there are characters that I feel like had a lot of potential that I feel is now wasted just because they're not getting used. So in my mind, my first draft pick is to basically go on and reasonably be uh, a character that a lot of people would say it's like, okay, this is DC's version of. So, with that said, my first draft pick is to go on and actually be Sideways. Sideways, to me, had a very goofy kind of superhero costume, which I was like, okay, like this costume looks just like, man, they need to work on that. But like when hearing that this character is to basically be the DC version of Spider-Man, I was like, like all right, like let's see what this story is about. And regardless of how this is not to be an actual spider character and he shoots webs and what have you, like this character is to go on and for a lot of people to go on and have this kind of be kind of like the Nightcrawler or of course like the Spider-Man. So and it seems that Sideways is to also have the ability to teleport into other dimensions or to probably teleport into maybe different time periods or something. So probably by mistake. But immediately when I saw about that, I'm like, okay, cool, because I was gonna go on and honestly add another character to this team that had teleporting powers, and it eventually, when kind of finally finding this character, it's like, oh, all right, so like I can use this character instead, because when also looking at like his rogues gallery or what characters that they kind of have him go up against in his short run, like I was thinking like like there can be a lot of visual eye candy going on here regardless of how this actual costume character is to actually look. And again, maybe work on that costume sometime. Just gotta put more effort into it. And plus also like why is he called Sideways? Why is he called Sideways? um I'm just so baffled by all of this. It just seems like a lot of this, like whole superhero, is just kind of chucked together. But when really looking at it, like look at like Invincible. Like Invincible just kind of feels like a character that's just kind of chucked together. But it's just to somehow just be a character that is to have such a widespread audience, and it just works. So, so yeah. So with that said, Sideways is to be bizarrely because he used to be the Spider-Man equivalent, just be a character that I was to go on and find interesting. And then also uh I was to try as much as possible when going through this list to try to make the team as diverse as I could. But then also realizing that Sideways was kind of a late entry and it kind of messed up my list. So I couldn't make it all perfect and whatever. So it was like, well, like this is just good enough. So with that said, let's move on. Static, Virgil Hawkins. So I had, of course, gone on in my youth and seen the show Static Shock, and love the whole idea of the Bang Babies, and really was to go on and find that this character, as they kind of build this character, like it seemed that he ended up more than just this. Okay, this character that is to be this kind of knockoff Storm. And when I was looking at this character, I was thinking like, well, like I was thinking Storm. Like I was thinking that this character can go on and be kind of like a number of different characters that end up getting rolled into a team, as well as also like when you think about his electrical power, like I think that that can go on and kind of be used in a number of different ways for a team. Also, I had seen Static being used in a future Justice League team, and like having Static on a team just makes sense to me. It just does. Regardless of how his books don't sell all that well, or he is to be a character that's just improperly used consistently. But I liked this character. I thought that this character has a lot of potential, as well as also I like the idea of how they approached getting this character powers and have him go up against certain threats that go within his stories. So I also thought that Ebon, the shadow character, would be a cool villain to play off against within this story, and maybe at some point also there are some interesting like Bang Baby characters that can be brought into the fold of this story. There was also the one character that had like the baggy pants and like had that kind of fire ability that I thought was kind of cool. Um, and I can't quite think of the exact name of that character. Maybe it was like Hot Streak or something like that. Um, but and people can go on for those of you that know the ins and outs of Static Shock or have a Google just readily available, can go on like his name was this. And like, oh, okay, great. Or maybe bizarrely, I just remembered that name and I stated it here. But anyways, let's move on. Animal Man, Bernard Baker. Logically, I'm sure that there's only ever been one Animal Man, but regardless, I really like Animal Man. Surprisingly, when New 52 was a thing, because that's years ago now, but when New 52 became a thing, I immediately became an Animal Man fan because his story was so bizarre and so unique and gave a lot of supernatural elements. And I was really trying to understand exactly how the red and green were going to work together. And when going on and maybe thinking about the red and the green, that's probably why I chose another character on this list. And no, it's not Swamp Thing or Poison Ivy. And then people were like, well, who the heck is left then? Like, anyways. So, uh, Animal Man to me, like, is a really fun, just like, if you break down his character, like, his character behind Animal Man is just a really interesting character. Uh, But then you also go on, you have this character that can become every single animal. Like, I could have easily gone on and also just thrown Vixen in this spot, and no one would probably know the difference. Or that could have been a possibility, like, regardless of how this team was to all break out. Because for how I was almost putting this list together, like, it was so tempting to just be like, well, like, I need at least 2 women on this team, and I need at least one redeeming character. And so, like, because that was kind of my way in which that was putting this team together, is to have one redeeming character, and also to have at least 2 women. So Vixen could have ended up on this list if there was to ever have gone on and been a case where, uh, like, I would have had to swap one of the female characters, because it was almost kind of tempting. Once I got sideways in the fold here, just like, ooh, yeah, yeah, I don't know. So, with that a case, let's move on. So this is Green Lantern Jade, or in quite a bit of cases, just Jade. So Jade is to go on and to have gotten her powers from her father, and her father is to go on and currently be in Earth 2. So I don't know how exactly we're going to go on and have this character being used in the regular DC universe, because I kind of think that they ended up kind of cutting her out. But when really looking at it, like, retcons could be made, and also you can just kind of create this character again, but name her differently or something along those lines. It really doesn't matter. But when looking at Jade, I was like, man, like, this character can go on and not be a Green Lantern, and she still has Green Lantern powers. All right, because of the Star Heart. And then also, Jade has kind of very interesting powers compared to a just Green Lantern in general. Considering that she is to go on, and if I just talked about, like, the powers of the Green, like, she has the ability to control plants. So for how we are to go on and realize that characters like Swamp Thing and Poison Ivy are to be very incredible threats, to where it's like, okay, like, how can a superhero go on and take them down? Well, specifically, Jade has the ability, as well as also being a Green Lantern, to also be able to control plants. So, like, she can go on and wipe out a pretty good, decent amount of characters, if you really think about it, within the DC landscape. Uh, but then also, uh, Jade at one point is to be more than just a Green Lantern. She is to also go on and be, briefly during the Blackest Night event, to also be a Black Lantern. So, all the more reason for me to want to go on and incorporate Jade into this team, because at some point, there could be some really interesting stories going on with her Black Lantern ring. Maybe she turns evil, maybe she's tempted by the ring, maybe it's calling out to her, maybe at one point she goes on to have the ring in her locker and she looks at it every day to, like, yeah, never again. And while that's going on, all of a sudden another team member within this roster of people looks at that ring, grabs it, steals it from her, and then they become their own Black Lantern within this team. And then we start to realize that maybe there's some either friction that happens, or maybe just bizarrely, uh, this whole Green and Black Lantern thing with these other characters, it just bizarrely works out. Or maybe we realize that Jade is to just be uh, a Green Lantern out of the Green Lantern. So maybe her Star Heart powers run out, and so she's just tempted by the Black Ring. Uh, and maybe she goes on and just becomes a Black Lantern within the story. It would be rather interesting to see this play out. And then also, having her be a Black Lantern kind of gets in the way of my love for uh, like zombie-ish like characters or monsterish like characters, and could just be for a really interesting story down the road. But also, kind of with the other roster of characters that can go on and have their own agendas, it could be tempting to just have that Black Lantern ring slip onto another person's hand, and it could be interesting to see how that plays out. But until then, Jade is to just be rather interesting. She's green skin, and that's what immediately just kind of stuck out to me. I know that a lot of people could state it's like, well, Jessica Cruz is a better female Green Lantern, or Joe Mulligan, whoever whoever the newest, latest, hottest female Green Lantern, where her ring recharges, the new hotness. Like that could go on and probably be a character that a lot of people can care about more so than Jade. But in my mind, her power set is just so interesting and so unique that like I felt that I just needed to have this character on this team, regardless of how more than likely she'll never see the light of day of being involved on a comic book. Just because probably her powers are just too weird to be adding on to a team and what have you. As well as also like there are obviously more powerful Green Lanterns. Like I know that a lot of people are like, man, you went with the most obscure Green Lantern. Why didn't you go with Hal Jordan or Guy Gardner, one of your favorites, or John Stewart? Like, why didn't you go with any number of those? Those would be the Green Lanterns that actually do have a legitimate name. It's like, well, probably because every single one of them are all going to be effing busy, because all of them are going to get used somewhere in storybooks and what have you, because they are very more important Green Lantern characters. But like, it's really time to realize that like there are several Green Lanterns in the Green Lantern world, and there is to be a number of variety of different kinds of characters. So yeah, so it's really interesting to play this out. Moving on, Ragman, Rory Reagan. So I had come to find out that Ragman is to go on and be in quite a bit of a number of teams, as well as also through the history, Animal Man is to be used in quite a bit of teams also. While putting this list together, and also looking at the villain side of things, Animal Man has this villain called the Front Page, and I loved that idea of that villain. And like that villain character looked like a kind of a Rorschach kind of villain to me, and immediately I wanted him to be on the villain side of things, just because like that idea is just so interesting and so cool. Even if that Front Page is to go on and actually be um, just this kind of one-off villain, still like I can look at him and just be like, man, there's endless things that they can go on and do with Front Page. That you can have like Front Page, and he has like Stickmen, and like there's a lot of drawing things you can go on and do with this character that kind of just go on and consistently make him a viable threat. Even though it's just this goofy kind of one-off character, and he probably doesn't actually have any powers, maybe you can go on and actually give him powers to where he is to go on and kind of be like the character Arthur that I set up, where he can kind of just draw his way out of anything. And the Front Page is really a cool character in my mind. But if anything, Ragman here. So I've heard from the recent comic books to the Second of the State that it seems Ragman is kind of dealing with this PTSD. He used to be kind of this soldier character, and bizarrely, they had gone on to just kind of mummifying this Ragman character. I'm like, that just looks stupid. And everybody who is to either know Ragman or is to just kind of see past visuals of Ragman are just like, that mummy thing just looks stupid. It just does. Like, it just doesn't work for the character. But bizarrely, they just needed to just put another Ragman book out there for reasons we don't quite understand. Because I guess Ragman is to go on and be involved in these kind of team books, so they should go on and justify giving him a solo one. I love Ragman. Don't get me wrong. But like the way that they just kind of use this character is just not good enough to me. But so we've also seen Ragman on Arrow. So if you want kind of a different slice of pie for this character, that may be it for you. Ragman. So this character is to go on and seemingly via the Jewish community be this character that is to be kind of their equivalent to a golem, and this character is to have all these rags that attach to him. They're to be souls of the dead, I assume. And when really looking at that, I was like, man, like, what if you can go on and have Ragman like collect like people who are dead that have had superpowers? Like, wouldn't that make this character just unstoppable? And have him consistently cry out to these souls and just kind of have all of these souls be of prior superheroes who at one point died. That could be a really interesting idea, but that would just go on and just make this character just way too OP. But Ragman is to go on and just have this interesting skill set that is to go on and collectively use all of these bits of cloth, have all their unique skills that he cries out to them to have them help him in his day-to-day superhero adventures. So Ragman, I feel, really also kind of reminds me of the Spectre in a lot of ways, and maybe there's probably a reason that I have to go on and probably state that now. When really looking at it, I just don't think that Ragman actually needs a cloak. I don't think he really does. Because if you look at like the DC hero Stitch, I'm like, why couldn't Ragman just be Stitch? Like, why did we have to create a whole other DC character that looks just like Ragman now? And now we have to retcon what Ragman looks like because of Stitch existing. I was almost tempted to actually put Stitch somewhere on this list, but I'm like, that character is just kind of going through the early stages of her power, and I'm just like, nah, like, just not quite good enough yet. Even though it seems they're giving that character like so much like importance because she's the leader of what is to be Young Justice Dark, which is such a stupid name in my opinion. I'm like I get it that you can go on and just throw dark on anything and just have it work, I guess. But like that team to me, like, just really needs some fixing. It's not cool enough. And when I was going through Teen Titans Academy, I was like, okay, give me this Young Justice Dark team, but it's gonna be not anywhere of a scale of me going on being like, ooh ah, just because I like supernatural teams. Like, none of their skill set was anything that I was impressed about, because nothing about that story was anything that I was really impressed about. Besides, like, ooh, Red X is being involved in a story. Like, ooh, let's see how he gets revealed, and let's see how many issues that I have to wait to figure out who this person is and find out that eventually once we get to the reveal, that the reveal sucks. Like, how is the reveal gonna get wasted? Because it ends up being like towards the very tail end of this story, and by then I won't care. Um, yeah, stupidly enough, like Teen Titans Academy was just like just focusing so much on the Red X character that I feel that the story really didn't go anywhere. It did nothing. Um, there wasn't much of a real crisis that I cared about, sadly. But anyways, uh, but let's talk. So Ragman has been in a number of teams along with Animal Man. And it seems that he may be going on into a run of being involved in Justice League Dark because Shadow Pact, I guess, had got resolved at some point. Um, so they're kind of fusing him into, I think, Justice League Dark. If I could be wrong, you can correct me. Because maybe this book was X number of years ago or days ago or whatever ago, and he's now in such other books of whatever have you. I'm telling exactly when this list is going to go on and be done. But anyways, so let's move on. Dial H for Hero, Miguel Montez. So I get that the original Dial H for Hero is probably a lot more popular, but I kind of went with this character just because of diversity, and then also really when thinking about it, I was like, well, like it doesn't matter who the dialer is. It just like I need the power. Like I need that this I need the power that this character has. So I know what a lot of people are going on and thinking when it comes down to a superhero team. Like you need a character that is to kind of be a catch-all kind of character. Because you may have situations where you may face off against the Atlanteans, or you may have to face off against the Speed Force, and you might be worried that, well, gee golly, like what if, uh, like let's say the Flash, maybe he turns evil, and then he goes into the Time Force, and then like he'll be able to figure out a strategy to beat your characters. Well, within this character, at some point, Dial H for Hero can go on and become the Flash, or could become a speedster, or could become a character that people will be like, well, hey, why isn't there a Superman in this team? Why isn't there a Batman in this team? Why isn't there dot 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 character? Well, Dial H for Hero can become any number of those characters to fit that bill. So really, when looking at it, I thought that this was just a genius idea on my mind to bring this character in, just because for whenever there is to be a need of a certain kind of hero, again, Dial can fit that bill. For how I'm to go on and probably think that like this, or maybe like the Hour Man, would just go on and just kind of be two characters that can go on and kind of be like a catch-all kind of thing. Uh, like I was to just go on and say that this is just a fun character, anyways, to kind of chuck in here, as well as also just kind of be this character that has kind of this wide variety of powers, as well as also another character that's probably on this list that has kind of a very wide variety of powers. Because again, for those of you that are probably thinking that these characters are not to be strong enough, here's one that is to go on and definitely be one. But then also, when you really think about it, any of these characters that you're probably to think are to be weak, they actually do have really reasonable reasons for why I'm to put them on this list. Yeah, so Dial H for Hero has some really interesting villains, I think, but nothing that stuck out to me that I felt that I needed to have be involved in here. And So that's kind of sad. But anyways, let's move on. Flatline. So this is to go on and be the character that I feel is justifiably a redeeming character. So, but then also, I wasn't quite sure exactly if this character was a villain or not. Because you can kind of see her as almost like an anti hero, even though she's tied to a villainous like character. Yeah, like you can kind of say that she's a tweener. That that yeah, she does go on and kill people, but she kills people to get their power. Like and like killing can go on and just kind of be the morality thing of like, oh yeah, she's definitely a villain because she kills people. Like she just has gone on to realize that like when she like is to kill people, that that is the way she gets. So yeah, so this character goes on and kills people and then obtains certain combatic skills, or like if I were to go on and really retcon this character, like I think whoever she kills, like she keeps their skills and abilities and powers and whatever, and gets all their knowledge and everything. So like you would think that this would be like a catch-all for this character. But yeah, so the reason also that I chose this character is because she is in Robin stories, and she had gone on and beaten Robin herself. She'd ripped out the heart of Robin and killed him. And then, because you can't kill Robin in a Robin story, they somehow decided to just revive him and bring him back. So, Robin, within the story, it seems to be having a brief love interest with Flatline, and maybe they could play off of that at some point in stories somewhere down the road. But if this character can go on and beat a Robin, she is to have some kind of skill. And then also, like, if this character is to not actually be powerful enough, like, in my mind, I was thinking, like, well, she has a fighting skill. And so she can be like the Batman of this team. Like I was also thinking of, instead of having Flatline, like I was thinking of maybe other characters that probably have like a supernatural thing to them, kind of like Katana could have actually been in this spot. But I really liked the visuals of Flatline. Like, of course, biasly, she is to kind of match with my kind of just liking of visuals, as well as also like the white skin is just kind of come off as very unique to me. So that's why I just kind of chose this character. And Nika just has this really interesting backstory if you kind of look through the story of this character, how she is to have a family member die, and she is to obtain these powers through them, and come to find out her relative is to have this kind of very shady past, and so Nika is to go on and face off against all these assassins, and that leads her to eventually go on and just realize that she needs to use this power to her advantage and just continue to get skilled. Uh, so now we're getting now we're getting to the point of the extra bit of characters here, because I've gone on and stated my my 7 uh, active characters on the roster. Now I need to go on and kind of state my 4 other characters that I feel could be either redeemed or could be just part of this roster and what have you. So, firstly, uh, we really just have the Spectre. The Spectre, in my opinion, goes on and gets kind of sporadically used, and like I would love for the Spectre to just be on a team at this point, or even have his own solo series. Like it's kind of just annoying of the fact that we've gone so many years now, and we're just kind of sporadically having this character get used, or maybe he's a one-off villain, or maybe he's a villain for a story arc, and it's just getting more and more annoying how like we'll even have him be used in like Swamp Thing, but he's just kind of rarely used, and so I'm like, God dang it, like, and I mean Swamp Thing, the show. So I'm like, hey, we're trying to get there, we're trying to use this villain, but it's just getting nowhere. When looking at the Spectre and seeing his showcase, I'm like, man, this is like the greatest thing ever. Like, why didn't they do anything with this? And it's just like, well, like, that's to be the Spectre for you. So the Spectre can go on and put this team together just because, like, he himself is probably starting to look at the fact that it's like there are so many crises going on that, like, the normal day to day, like, teams are just kind of neglecting. So, and plus, with this character kind of technically being the spirit of vengeance, we have this character can go on and point out things that not a lot of other um, teams are to be at all aware of, just because he has a better set of powers that can go on and find these things out. So with this Spectre, I kind of went with the original Spectre, who of course be uh, I don't have this here. I think it's Jim Corrigan. And if I'm wrong about that, then my bad. But yeah, I really didn't have that listed here. That kind of just sucks. So hopefully I'm right about that. If not, then man, am I just lucky I figured that out. I know that there have been a number of different Spectres at some point. Like I could have immediately gone with the Spectre Hal Jordan, or I could have probably gone with the Arrowverse Green Arrow Spectre, or I could go on and just make the Spectre a different character in the DC universe that probably would go on to have people much more care about the Spectre because ipso facto, um, he has to be connected to a certain kind of character. Maybe we can have the Question be the Spectre because, in all honesty, the Question was one of those characters that I really would have wanted to be on this team, as well as also like when really looking at it, like the Spectre in his kind of cloaked persona, I'm like, ugh, like he's gonna go on and clash with some other characters that are on this team. Like, what if we could finally go on and update the Spectre's look a little bit, where he's kind of somehow tweakingly different, because that may go on and just finally interest people by just a Spectre that just has a slightly tweakingly different look, to just kind of modernize or update this character. Uh, or you can go into a drastically different look, with any number of superheroes that you're going to go on and do. Uh, you can give a much more punk rock or just drastically different direction with this character. But anyways, the other character which that I went with, that will probably stick out because she looks very weird. The character on the bottom there with the pink background. This is to go on and be a character that if you haven't really seen the show, you probably don't know that this character exists whatsoever. Crazy Jane. This is to be a character from Doom Patrol. I'd watched quite a bit of Doom Patrol, except for probably its very last season, and there's probably a reason for that. Like I think I had started to try to watch the newer season of Doom Patrol, but I just kind of gave up, just because I'm like, ugh, like there's some weird, goofy directions of which they're going, more so in this season than they have in the past. And I think at this point, like they were just kind of no efforting the show, because they realized that it was going to get canceled. Uh, but Crazy Jane from Doom Patrol has, of course, this split personality power set that can go on and be very useful, but then also to be very terrifying. Like with Crazy Jane being involved on a team, you're honestly very worried that she will probably kill any number of her team members in their sleep. So Crazy Jane, you kind of have to realize is a very good character to be put on the team, but also she used to be one where it's like, hey, how about we just kind of lock you up at night? How about we just go on and just kind of give you some like solitary confinement from the rest of everyone because we're just kind of concerned that at any point, again, you can kill us all in our sleep. Uh, but uh, but Crazy Jane, I feel, can go on and be a very creative character. And while watching Doom Patrol, like she became a welcomed character to that show base of just like, man, this character is really fascinating. I really like what they're doing here with this character, and I wish they can go on and definitely do something more with this character than just her stuck with Doom Patrol. Or also, I wish there was more characters like this in comic books in general. Like we have like the X-Men character Legion, and we have characters that kind of dive into like Moon Knight, which I wish I would have gone on and had Moon Knight at some point in the Marvel team, but I just couldn't find a way to figure him in. Um, but we have these split personality characters that I wish was used a lot more to kind of promote mental health, um, and also to just kind of be these interestingly written characters. But anyways, moving on. So at the top here, we have yet another female character, which is to go on and actually be Indigo, which a lot of people are like, Indigo? What the is this? Indigo is to actually be a Brainiac character. I believe it's Brainiac 8, because I'm not really having a bit of notes of who this character exactly is. When going on and really looking at a team of sorts, like I feel like you always need a robot character because if you have a robot character, like mind control becomes a thing that is to go on and be less of a scary thing, and also uh, when really looking at a robot character, like it seems that this is to go on and be more viably used, like. At some point, I was also thinking of like instead of Indigo, I was thinking of like Amazo, but it seems that Amazo is kind of being heavily used in a story right now, where Amazo is to go on and kind of copy and paste every single one of the Justice League characters because Amanda Waller is putting Amazo out to be a threat against the Justice League individually, or what have you. And we have Amazo that kind of has these certain kind of slivers of different versions of itself, like Velocity or whatever the Amazon Wonder Woman counterpart. Um, Maybe it's Amazon or something like that. But to kind of say that Amazon and Amazo, Amazon, Amazon, whatever that goofy character name is. But so I was so intrigued about figuring out a way to have like some kind of robotic character on here. I probably could have gone on with like a Red Tornado also, or whatever the female equivalent of that is, because I'm sure there is a female equivalent of that because I'd gone on to see that within I think Young Justice at some point maybe. But anyways, uh, it was surprising to not have a actual Atlantean on this list. But actually, a lot of those characters, besides maybe Aqualad from Young Justice, a lot of those characters are not actually to be all that good. And then when really thinking about it, like, did I really want to just put Aqualad on here? To just say like, well, he's mostly been used on a Young Justice thing. Um, I honestly was tempted to put Laguna Boy on here, but like Laguna Boy, I'm like, I did not like him at all in Young Justice. He was kind of an annoying character. Like he was kind of like the Beast Boy of uh of like how like I don't like Beast Boy in Teen Titans or Titans whatsoever. But they just consistently keep using him. Now, like in Teen Titans Academy, like he's fused with Cyborg. I'm like, good. Like both characters that no one really cares about, you just slam them together. Um, and a lot of people go like, "Hey, I like Cyborg or I like Beast Boy," and I hate the fact that they fuse them together. Like, it, both of those characters don't really matter to me, and also like it's kind of sad how like Cyborg ended up getting put in the Justice League. And I'm like, why? Like, I get that you could say it's like, well, technology and like you also go on and kind of look at the diversity of that group. I'm like, well, why not just have John Stewart in that group as a Green Lantern? Like, I think John Stewart can do more interesting things than Hal Jordan could go on and do in that team. Um, Plus, like Hal Jordan is involved in enough. Like, why does he need to be involved in the Justice League? But anyways, I'm kind of curious to see like, well, technically, like the Justice League isn't really the normal Justice League it seems anymore, or they're rebooting the Justice League anyways. So like, whatever I'm to think that Justice League really is probably not what it actually is now. There was also a time where like Jonathan Kent had his own Justice League, and I'm like, that is the stupidest thing. Like you're basically just replacing Justice League members with Justice League members. Like you're basically replacing Superman with Superman. It doesn't make any sense. Like you're not changing anything. Like you're not really going on and giving us like a really different like team. You're just kind of giving us more of the same. I felt within that team, and I was like, what was the point of changing this? Like it does nothing for Jonathan Kent's character to just kind of give him um, this Justice League team. But whatever, like a lot of people can say that that's to go on it and be a difference of opinions. But anyways, so lastly, finishing up this list, and then I'll get to my villains list of ideas of how I can write this show. We then have, of course, a character that is to be pronounced Hell, or some people are to go on and try to say or pronounce his name as Hyel, as like they're saying hi and then L, to probably try to beat the whole fact of like, well, hey, we can't just say this because this could be a curse or a curse word. Um, I'm to go on and just state that like that hell is just be a really interesting bit of a character because in all honesty I was so tempted to put here's an honorable mention of what was actually going to be on this list. I was actually going to put Solomon Grundy on here just because like in my mind I was looking at him, I'm like, oh my god, this is like a Hulk character for a Justice League style of thing. And I was like, man, like Solomon Grundy has like a good amount of power behind him. He has a good amount of strength that he could be just well used on this team, and then he could be like a redeeming character because most of the time he's a villain, but for this story, like I can go on and redeem him and be a good guy. But then, when all honesty, looking at the team, like I was just thinking, like, well, it could be cool to have Solomon Grundy on this team, but one sideways kind of came into the team, like that just kind of effed up that whole thing, right? Where it took me numerous hours to just try to figure this out of how I can fit sideways on the team, uh, and then kind of nix Solomon Grundy. Like I think there honestly could have been other characters that I could have gotten rid of. Within that roster of 7, as well as also there could be any number of characters that I could have gotten rid of here. Uh, so, regardless, Solomon Grundy should have actually been on this team, but anyways, I went with Hell here, just because of his name, as well as also like his power set is to go on and just kind of we can't ignore that you have to have a Kryptonian in every Justice League team, regardless of if it makes sense or not. And like regardless of how Hell's story actually plays out here, in my mind, like I could just go on and have him, considering he's the brother of Superman, like have it state that he could actually have some like redeeming things about him. And like I've seen at some points where Superman has had a brother and the brother turns good. So it makes all the sense in the world for this character to just turn good anyways. Plus, with his kind of unusual Kryptonian power set, that is to be way different than a lot of other Kryptonians. It's like, all right, like this character has the ability to time travel and just a number of other things at his disposal. He can teleport and all kinds of things where all these other heroes can't, who are Kryptonians. It's like, well, like this just makes this character stand out. But if this character didn't come into my lap, I would immediately have chosen Solomon Grundy, in all honesty. But it just didn't work out that way. Boo-hoo, too sad. But hey, at least this character has a very interesting look to him. And in all honesty, I probably would have picked a Lobo in this spot, anyways, because I would have. But with that said, let's go on and let's talk about the. Ooh, I guess I did kind of set that up. I didn't realize I set that up. Good for me. So let's go on and talk about the villains that I had as an idea. So we could come to find that these villains could be kind of misunderstood and they actually are good heroes. Maybe they can have a story to lend them into helping us understand why they're on the villain side of things. Maybe they're to have a change of heart. Maybe we have characters like, let's say, for example, I wanted the Question as a villain for this story because I feel like the Question, considering he wasn't really on this team, like I would have wanted the Question on here anyways. Like if you really think about it, we could probably have the Question who's trying to reveal to the public secret identities of every single superhero. Like we could have the Question who is going on and having this kind of online video where he's doing this conspiracy theory thing, and we can have the Question just kind of outing all of these superheroes, and like he can become famous for doing that, and the Question can go on and just be kind of building to the point of like him being a real, true, legitimate threat where he's revealing all these secret identities, whether these superheroes want it to be revealed or not. So that, of course, can go on and just kind of be a pot stirring kind of story. And I thought that was actually rather interesting. And then also gives something like the Question something to do here within the story. And it kind of eventually deals with this just kind of combative thing. Also, with considering we have like Ragman for this story, I thought it would be cool. There's a Batman character called Crazy Quilt that I thought would be actually funny for him to be against Ragman here. I'm not quite sure if Crazy Quilt had ever fought Ragman, but like we actually need the fight between these two characters. We really do, and I think also like Ragman is technically like, is he a Gotham character? Like I think he is. Not quite sure. But anyways, so let's kind of just start with these certain kind of names here, because I'm sure there's a billion of them that I kind of have to break down here. So obviously, I'm sure there could be a number of villains that could be the easy, like, well, like obviously you gotta have him against Darkseid or Trigon or this or that, the big huge, like you have to have him face off against the Joker, right? Like, yeah, I'm sure we can have all these big heavy hitter villain characters that face off against this league at some point, and we justify that story. And a lot of people go on and probably say that there's not a real crisis unless so and so villain is involved, like a Luthor or Brainiacs or whatever. But uh, actually, in my mind, there could be some characters that are to deliver some interesting, just kind of crisis events. And I'm also looking at characters that aren't as heavily used in the DC landscape of things. Or maybe it's probably because they're dead, or maybe they're defeated, or maybe they're this, or maybe they're that. But anyways, first off, there was this character that I saw in the Batman Arkham games, and I was like, you know what, this character could actually be, if to have this character to easily manipulate people into his faction and kind of play things out. It would be actually cool to see Anarchy being used in this story. How like the people can go on and just kind of be just tired of these cape and cowl people and want to get rid of them, and there could be a real kind of a duking it out scenario going on between them, and people can start choosing sides, and could be really rather interesting to just kind of see this kind of build here. Uh, and have Anarchy just kind of make his way into, because we've kind of had that in the X-Men stories where it comes down to the humans against the X-Men, and we kind of could just build to that. And so, really, that could be a lot of fun to just kind of go with. Uh, so, in my mind, like, I was also thinking that the Spectre was probably shopping around to try and find the best possible uh, like roster of people to use. So maybe he was going on and auditioning people for his team. And when you go on, you go into auditions. We have people that desperately want the job, and they become just kind of very upset they didn't go on and book it. So in my mind, I was thinking there was actually this really interesting story that Jade had, where there was this Green Lantern named Maria Contranetta, uh, or Contranetta, I believe that's how it's pronounced. And come to find out, this is to be a character that becomes this like evil Green Lantern within that story. Is like ooh ah, like I was thinking that that character can go on and be used within this story because maybe she had gone on to want to be in this team, but it didn't work out. So she became very jealous, and she ran after Jade and was like, "Well, hey, why am I not on this team? Why am I not good enough?" And so she's going on using her power against Jade to just show how better she is against this girl, and things start to just transpire here. Also, I could have went with like I would have liked to use Starfire more, or Starfire, Star Sapphire more. That's what I was trying to say. Star Sapphire from the Pink Lanterns, because Starfire is it's a Teen Titans character. Like I don't really care for that character. Star Sapphire. This is to go on to be a Pink Lantern that is to have the power of love, and it would actually be really interesting to see uh, like Carol Ferris here go on and maybe be jealous of Jade that she had gone on and gotten this spot, because I was actually tempted to have Carol on this team, but we went elsewhere. Uh, but also, like, I feel that it's kind of sad that we don't really have much of these characters to be used. It's always like the Red Lanterns, or it's always to be some other color scheme that ends up getting used instead of the pink ones. Most of the time, we end up getting the Yellow Lanterns. Always end up having some kind of invasion going on. like they're the only ones that have anything to do, because like Sinestro is such a popular character that it's kind of to where it's like, come on already, like can't you guys go on and do anything else? Uh, but there's always to be some kind of fear lantern incursion that goes on through every single one of these times you have some kind of Green Lantern thing somewhere. It's always really annoying. But so, I was also thinking of because I'm kind of a supernatural character, and this kind of fits that bill. Mirror Master and Thanatos. And immediately when I say Thanatos is like Thanos, all right, cool. No, Thanos is a Marvel character. Thanatos is a Aquaman villain, and an Aquaman villain that is to have a ability to be in a mirror, and when uh, he is to be a part of the nether space within this mirror, Aquaman goes on and looks into the mirror and is looking at himself, and then all of a sudden his self through this mirror attacks him and takes him down. And I was like, wow, like that really looks cool. And then also when thinking about it, I'm like, well, like, but look at also like the Flash character Mirror Master. What if you had gone on and upped the scale of Mirror Master, where he can go on and kind of through his mirror world come to find like a number of mirrored versions of himself, and then bring that all back, and like that could be some kind of substantial threat here, that Mirror Master can go on and have like a whole army of himself to fight against this team. But I was kind of also just thinking about combining these two characters together and kind of just having this weird, goofy mirror match of a thing going on. As well as also, I just kind of like the mirror idea, where from any reflection anywhere, like this person can go on and just attack. It seems like a really cool idea. So then also we of course from the Green Lantern world of things, we have Manhunters. Manhunters are to be the equivalent of the X-Men Sentinels, where these Manhunters are to go on and be kind of these like guardians of Oa, but it seems that eventually also uh, their rules or whatever they have, or their uh, whatever goes on and gets them to kind of keep on working from day to day, like it kind of starts to waver and starts to change. So, uh, like the Manhunters are to be shown really well in the Green Lantern video game that was used at one point. But from time to time, you see the Manhunters getting used in Green Lantern stories. But so the Manhunters, I think, could go on and have a number of reasonings for going on and attacking this team the way it does. Maybe because Jade had kept her Black Lantern ring and the Manhunters want it back, and they can say that Jade is to have this Black Lantern ring and she shouldn't, and the Manhunters are trying to get that away from her, and that could build up a good enough story here. We could also have the Manhunters that kind of get in the mix of like a Green Lantern versus Green Lantern fight, and just kind of want to break this up, and like the Manhunters just go on and just start to get involved with this entire team that Jade is involved with. Chaos is to ensue, and it could be just for a really fun idea here. Then I go on to look at Eclipso. Eclipso is to never go on and be a character that people are to actually probably look at and have any real like thought of this character being a real, true, legitimate threat to the Justice League, or like what can this character go on and do more than what he's already done. But like when looking at Eclipso and even realizing at some point that Eclipso had been like Jean Loring at some point, like I would go on to see that like Eclipso goes on and kind of is to infuse himself into the Justice League and become all of them. And in my mind, also, yeah, you probably have this character that really relies on the moon eclipse and what have you, but there could probably be heavily a lot of retcon going on with this character, but also like this character could actually become more powerful when you really think about it. Because if this character can go on and control like the Justice League, what if like this Eclipso character can go on and control seemingly anybody? Kind of like the Starro kind of story where we have Starro coming in and like Starro just kind of controls everybody to where there's so few characters left. Uh, and I would never go on and pick Starro on this list, even though Starro is kind of an interesting character. Starro, I think, has been heavily used way too goddamn much, and like that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. I can like a character like Starro, but I'm just like, god dang, he's just used far too often. To where I'm like going into like the Suicide Squad movie, and I'm like, oh, of course it's Starro, because of course it is. Like I just seen another animated movie uh, at that same exact time where they end up using Starro as a main villain. I'm like, well, of course they do, because like I was just so sick of Starro at that point, and that was like the problem of me just going on being like, just I'm sick of this character. Speaking of animated stuff, like I honestly was kind of tempted to just start watching the Teen Titans show, the animated thing, because I know how popular that show probably really is to a lot of people. But also, like, I really just wanted to watch some kind of superhero content that probably will be a thing that people may want to have my opinion on. And I've always kind of wanted to just kind of tip my toe into like the Teen Titans animated show, or Young Justice, or Justice League Unlimited. But I'd have to realize that I have to watch Justice League also, because I have to just kind of watch things in order. But that could be maybe some future content that I can do in the future. But anyways, let's get back to this list. So, uh, Dr. Herbert Combs. This is to be a character from Batman Confidential, or what the title ends up changing to be Batman versus the Undead. And this is a character that goes on to start to infect the world with this zombie infection. And Batman is to go on and have this character alongside him that I don't quite remember the name of. And this character is to go on and be like a vampire character. You guys can probably go on and tell me exactly who this character is in the comments below, because I forgot what his name is. And Batman goes on to realize that like this whole zombie infection thing is starting to get really out of hand, and then he desperately calls out for Superman, and eventually him and Superman like really have a huge problem with trying to face off against these characters. And then there's just an endless zombie infection that just starts to break out here. And how like DC like didn't go with that same exact story when it did that in uh like just baffles me, but I get it that like DC's had that really interesting story that they basically just ripped off of Stephen King's The Cell, and really just wanted some zombie books anyways, with a different kind of spin on it. But anyways, uh, moving on. I already mentioned Crazy Quilt. Kronos. Kronos. Oh man, I probably didn't go on it and state anything about King the Conqueror, or probably in this list, Calendar Man. Um, Probably because I didn't really think that King the Conqueror is much of any real, true, legitimate threat anymore. But anyways, to probably a lot of people. But it could just be this time traveling Thromp that could have been fun. But anyways, so Kronos was to go on to be used at some point in the Justice League series, and eventually gave us like Batman Beyond and Static Shock within that Kronos story. And I really was to like this idea of this character who goes on and kind of just steals these trinkets that no one is to really like think that are to have any real importance. But then all of a sudden, as Kronos is to go on to find out that all of these other things are to go on and just kind of be stolen, he's just like, well, like, how about I just go on and just do whatever I want? And so he just starts to steal anything to just kind of make himself rich and famous and whatever. And that ends up all of a sudden, like, just really giving real problems to uh, the timeline at large, to where all of a sudden we start to all of a sudden see that John Stewart Green Lantern is all of a sudden Hal Jordan Green Lantern, and that the timeline is just getting very just jumbled and it doesn't make any sense. And we're starting to see a number of Justice League members disappear, and like it gets really interesting to see how that story plays out in the Justice League story of animated show. So, and also we get to see Batman Beyond. Yeah. Anyways, and kind of like a future Justice League, uh, which I enjoyed. But so, with that said, like Cronus, like regardless of how like he doesn't himself have really a good set of powers, he is a interesting character that can be used in a number of fun ways. So moving on. So I had said Ebon from Static Shock. I had said Katana already. Uh, we can honestly have Lobo be used in this story as this bounty hunter character that can really go on and have a certain bounty for any number of these superhero characters. And while this battle is going on, all of a sudden this alerts all the rest of the team to just kind of help this character out to even up the playing field. And we're really looking at it like Lobo could go after Jade because it makes sense because they're both space characters. We can go on and have just Lobo just kind of go after any number of these characters, even though it may not make sense. Uh, Lobo has a really interesting power set with all of his technology that he has at his disposal, as well as also him being kind of like the Superman equivalent as far as like powers is concerned. I would have actually loved to have Lobo on this team because he is to go on and at some points kind of be almost like a Deadpool character in a lot of ways, to where he has this amazing healing factor, as well as also he has to kind of crack jokes and like eventually he has to go on and be like wearing the costume of Batman on his face and like you can kind of run off to say that if there is to not actually be a Batman or a Superman or something on this bit of team, that Lobo could have gone on and could have been bejokingly be wearing those costumes and could have been those characters as a joke, and that could have been the thing that you could have ran with. That maybe every single day you see him, he's in a different costume or different setup, and like it's just a butt of a joke. Or really, you could have gone on and done that just in him being a villain, anyways. Because like ironically, we can just have Lobo being like, yeah, like I'm the main man, like I'm better than all of you, and I'm selling your book, so you're welcome, kind of a thing. Uh, Poison Ivy obviously would be a really interesting threat going up against Jade because it's plant versus plant. Uh, Poison Ivy is really a cool, interesting villain when she goes on to kiss people and then like she has them all become zombies. I realize that Poison Ivy is to go on and be used in like Harley Quinn stuff, and she's starting to get used a lot more, but I feel like she's not used enough. I I can also state that I would have liked to have Man Bat on here also, just because I think that this is a character that doesn't get used enough. I think that it's a very much wasted potential. I had seen him get used in the Arkham games, but I'm just like, he's just kind of this, like, he's honestly this side quest villain. He's not really in the story, I feel, enough. There is obviously the one point where you're going through Arkham and you're like grabbing onto this building, and then Man Bat just kind of just shocks you and surprises you, and I'm like, mother, or like, it's always unexpected. Just be like, when the is that gonna happen? I'm always like in the game. I'm like, when is it gonna happen? When is it gonna occur? And then immediately, pooh, like a Batman or is just in front of Man Bat. I'm like, son of a bitch! Like every single time, it gets me, and I hated that about that game. Just because like in the later Arkham games, they want to try to figure out a way to just scare you or kind of keep you at a very uneasement. And like I started to get annoyed with that kind of just idea of them just trying to just booga, like kind of do these jump scare stupid things, and it started to get really annoying, um to just kind of build the game that way, because not only like is there so much going on in that game, but then also you just have to get scared at some points, and you're just like, man, I'm freaking like, I'm tired already with having to do all these missions, because I'm having to work my brain to like figure out what is the best weapon that I can use in this scenario to just kind of quickly beat this level. And then like this game is exhausting already, and then you're gonna freaking jump scare me, really? Like, ew. But anyways, Ocean Master and Lagoon Boy. So if I already talked about a Lagoon Boy, like we obviously have to forcibly have like a Atlantean kind of presence in this world of things, even though, in all honesty, there isn't much of Atlanteans that hold any real importance in my eyes, because Namor is kind of the same in the Marvel world. Like, I wish at some point, like Namor or Aquaman and the Atlanteans had a real giving an F for me, but it just doesn't. Sadly enough, like I can enjoy Aquaman stories. I can enjoy um, the Aquaman movies, maybe barely, somewhat. Um, I can enjoy like the Throne of Atlantis animated movie, and I can enjoy Aquaman being enrolled in random points of Justice League at certain aspects of the story. But like, I think I would love to actually go on and like myself like figure out how I could make the Atlanteans and their story even more important. I would love that kind of idea of trying to figure out how to make their characters more important. Because really, also the Atlanteans don't have much of a rogues gallery. I feel in my mind that holds any more importance besides maybe Ocean Master. Um, and then when really looking at the villain of the Aquaman 2, I'm like, this is a joke. Like like I didn't care for the villain in Aquaman 2 whatsoever. But if anything, I was just like, okay, like Atlanteans, all they have is just the trench. Like that's all that really is to be interesting. But anything else is just like just a thing that exists. Besides maybe Thanatos. But I'd like to just feel differently about it. So maybe it would be a fun exercise to be like, how can you make the land? How can you make um, people give a about water characters? May end up being a future video. Uh, how could finally people give a about water superheroes? because I don't. Uh, anyways, I would have liked to have had Sports Master on here. When honestly watching Young Justice and seeing Sports Master on that show, I'm like, oh my god, this character is so cool. And he kind of looked like a Jason Voorhees kind of villain, and like I was like, God dang, like we have like Jason Voorhees as a villain and a superhero animated thing. I was like, man, this is amazing. And like his powers were really rather interesting. So like it was like and also like he's kind of like a Casey Jones. So we get like Jason Voorhees slash Casey Jones like in a DC comic book thing, and I was like, man, like if ever there was a time to say that there could be one character that I think could have his own solo book, it would honestly be Sportsmaster. Bizarrely, even though probably a lot of people like Sportsmaster, really a solo book. Like I honestly think that Sportsmaster could be even good enough to just be on this Justice League team. Uh, Even though logically, like his name is just stupid. Uh, he has some kind of visuals to where I'm just so like just hard up on that guy. I just like god dang, like if he just had a cooler name, like I would definitely want to go on and have him just on this team. Uh, I also would go on and say that the Creeper Jack Ryan could be a really interesting foe. I know that a lot of times that he's kind of done as like an anti-hero, but I think there could be a lot of stuff that we can do with the Creeper, to where he's kind of like a character that is going on and like kind of seeking revenge out on all these people, and the Justice League team ends up finding out about this. The Crisis League team finds out about this going on and wants to stop the Creeper from killing all these people. And there is also, I think, a character on this list that I don't think is on here called Onomatopoeia. There's to be a Green Lantern villain that I thought looked really cool and has like an interesting visual, but like that character goes on and kind of kills kind of very low level superheroes. And I thought that story was like very gripping and very like, ooh, all right, like this sounds like something really attractive and really juicy and really all right. But anyways, uh, the creeper can go on and just kind of be this kind of nerdy character that is to go on and just be hazed to the point of him wanting revenge on. Because I was thinking that the creeper can go and fit in this kind of like college university scenario where he goes on to get like hazed so badly that it drives him insane to where he wants to seek revenge, and the only way to go about that is for him to just kill off these people. And the Crisis League finds out about it, and it's like, okay, we need to stop this at all costs, because this guy is to go on and have this unusual ability, this unusual power, makes him this creeper, and we have to go on and we have to stop him. Because otherwise, like, if he goes on and he just starts taking out people, like it's wrong. But then also, it could be a thing where maybe the creeper goes on and just starts to see every one of these people that has ever gone on and hazed him in his life. He could see them in everyone. Uh, so yeah, so that could be just an interesting play out of stories. Just kind of this very uh, her character that just needs to just kind of be sent to a facility that can go on and just kind of help him out. Cupid, Cupid from Green Arrow. I don't know what her alternate name is, but Cupid was actually a really interesting character. I talked about Typhoid Mary in the Marvel team, and Cupid to me was to also be at some point in the Arrow show, and I was like, ooh, wow, this is kind of cool. Uh, Cupid is to be a character that ends up going on to be very much finding Green Arrow and becomes very obsessed about him, and then kind of becomes her own archer and goes on to face off against Green Arrow. So like when looking at that, I'm like, oh my god, like this Cupid character, this freaking awesome. Like I like this kind of story, and I wish that Cupid could go on and actually be within this story, and have Cupid just kind of latch on to any number of these characters, and regardless of probably what their actual power set is, figure out ways to just go on and be the villain of any number of these characters. And could be rather interesting to see this play out. And then also, we could have Cupid end up being the one that is to end up with a Black Lantern ring. Maybe she finds it, maybe she grabs it, and takes control of it, and then goes after Jade because maybe Cupid falls in love with Jade, and there's this battle between the two of them. Who knows? It could be fun. Gentleman Ghost, I had seen in quite a bit of Batman Brave and the Bold. And I was like, cool. Like a ghostly character. And Gentleman Ghost just sounds like a cool name. And also, like, I really liked how, like, Gentleman Ghost kind of forced Batman and doing these kind of unusual stories for Batman Brave and the Bold. Like, there was one point where Batman was kind of buried alive. So Batman like astral projects and goes on to find like Green Arrow and Speedy, and Batman fuses into like Speedy's body and tells Green Arrow, it's like, hey, like I'm astral projecting right now, and you gotta find me and you gotta unbury me. You gotta figure out where I am. And so like that became like a really rather interesting episode of Batman Brave and the Bold, even though logically, to a lot of people, like that idea is stupid, blah blah blah. It was just kind of really interesting to see that Batman had this unique power, and we've also seen at some points where Batman has gone on to be buried alive, and then we have that being done in the Tower of Babel story, or the Justice League Doomed story, where he takes the key and he bashes his way through his own coffin, and he eventually ends up kind of ripping through the coffin and gets out. But this story had Batman astral project, so maybe that could be a really interesting story that they play out in one of these comic books. Could be really rather interesting. Moving on, Giganta. Giganta obviously is a character that just can be just gigantic. So like, why not just play it out with her playing against this team? I would have actually liked to have Solomon Grundy on here, face off against Giganta, just because of like Hulk-like character versus Giganta. But oh well, like too bad, so sad. When really thinking about it, we could have Dial H for Hero become a giant character. We could have Crazy Jane become a giant character. We could go on to have the Spectre come in and he becomes a giant character, taking out Giganta. Because at some point Spectre does become a giant character within Justice League God Among Us, against Mxyzptlk, and the two of them kind of duke it out. So Giganta is just a really fun visual of a character, like this 50-foot woman. And also, like, I would love to kind of also see this character just get more of a story going on in comic books. I would love to see her eventually go on and be like a hero, because Ant-Man is an existing thing in the Marvel universe of things. So why can't just a giant woman go on and have much more of a story? Moving on. Director Bones. Director Bones is to be obviously a character in my visual wheelhouse of enjoyment. But when to find out what this character is to go on and do, he's to kind of be like kind of a Amanda Waller kind of character, like a Wish version of Amanda Waller, where he is to kind of corrupt certain villains or heroes to kind of do what he wants done. And if you really just want a sit on your throne kind of villain, then Director Bones could probably be it. In all honesty, you could probably use any number of people to kind of have be put in this position. You can have Lex Luthor, or you can go on and have any number of like Amanda Waller kind of characters, or have them set up another checkmate kind of story. But bizarrely to me, I think this is just biasly my opinion of just having this character being used in the story. Moving on, Icicle. Icicle from time to time is interestingly used in DC stories like Smallville against the JSA. It was actually a really interesting story. And also, uh, Icicle was at some point got to have gotten used in Young Justice. And like, I can't help but say that, like, this character should go on and be like the Mr. Freeze of like any roster of whatever, and I'm sure he probably is getting used somewhere. But like, there is to be like Killer Cross or Killer Croc, Killer Frost. I would have loved Killer Croc to also be in this thing, but like, when we're looking at it, that's a slippery slope of like, well, why not just have every single character of the Batman Rogues Gallery to be used in here? Because it's so tempted to also have Scarecrow used on here. Clayface could be a hero or could be a villain. Could work either way. I've seen Clayface being used in both sides. And then also, I think that he's stupidly being used in Harley Quinn as just a character that is getting ruined by that show. When he could actually be used in a better way than the stupid way that they use him in that show. That is to be the worst thing about that show, is just looking at Clayface and just being like, Clayface, they made you look stupid. Um, but whatever, it just ends up being what it is. Uh, but Icicle, yeah, like, going back to that, he's a character that I think should get a lot more used than I feel that he is. So, and also he has this ice power. Like, I know probably a lot of people would go on and say like, well, what about Captain Cold and any number of other characters that had this same kind of ability, and like, why haven't you used Iceman in the Marvel version? Just because I'm like, I've probably used too many like Marvel mutant characters already in that other team, so all the more reason for me to want to go on and use less of them. I'd already said the question. Beast Boy as a villain would be really interesting here, and I know a lot of people are saying they're like, Beast Boy as a villain, like, no, he's always this like good-hearted character. I honestly hate Beast Boy in a lot of ways. I hate him. So like, he's funny in the Teen Titans show, but like, I'm just thinking like, man, all this guy needs is just a villain story arc to just have me like his character more, but he never gets it, and I wish he should. Um, because too much of Beast Boy as he is not a good thing. So it would be nice to see Beast Boy becoming a villain, because it would make a lot of sense. The Demon Etrigan. I would have loved to have him on this list, as well as also to have Kid Devil on this list. Because you can have characters that can kind of be used as the same similar kind of story, as well as also them being supernatural characters. I was almost tempted to actually use Kid Devil on this list, just because of his teleportation power set, and as well as also realizing that Hellboy is a very popular character, it seems, to want to push Kid Devil on a team, and really realize that that would be best for business. But then also, when looking at it, like, Blue Devil is to go on and be used in like Shadow Pact, and it's to be used in Justice League Darks and stuff like that. So like, really, like, it's tough to call that that Kid Devil should be used somewhere. And then also, Kid Devil is technically dead, uh, because he sold his soul, and he's now be dead. He's in hell now, so maybe he's gonna go on and have some kind of story arc where he is to kind of be how like the demon Etrigan was, where he is to kind of going through all the circles of hell and working his way back up to having all these more interesting powers, and he comes back into the DC world of things, and we realize that it's like, oh my god, like who is this character? Why does he exist? Like, why should I care? And eventually there is to go on and actually be logical reasons for that. I think also, uh, like uh, like immediately when looking at this character, I immediately think of Trigon, and I get it that like Trigon is basically just your rogues gallery of Teen Titans villains, and Trigon is to be used way too effing much in Teen Titans. I'm like, god dang, like, could you not have a Teen Titans thing that doesn't have Trigon in it? Like that seems to just be the go-to um, villain of the minute for Teen Titans, but if anything, I think that you can use Trigon in other team stories to kind of break him away finally from Teen Titans. And I also liked in the Teen Titans show the villain Control Freak because he was kind of really interesting. And uh, regardless of how that character I think was just built for that show, it would be kind of interesting to see him being used in here. Uh, we can say also El Diablo, which a lot of people may actually know him from the Suicide Squad movie. Very interesting tattooed character. I probably could have gone on and stated in number one of these. Like, there probably is like a tattoo man. I probably could have used that as a character. I didn't really think about that until now. But yeah, so El Diablo is a really interesting Suicide Squad member. He is to go on and have this ability to change himself in this big, huge, monstrous demon of a character. If you kind of see the tail end of that Squad movie, you go on to see his true power, and very interesting kind of character that goes on and just kind of has this fire ability and what have you. Could be really interesting for this team to go up against. Silver Banshee, of course, is just another supernatural character that visually I enjoy and like I've seen in a number of Irish stories and so on and so forth. Could be a rather interesting character. Ragdoll just looks visually interesting. Killer Moth is a just insect character. If I were to go on and try to find an insect character that could be well used in here, I think also, God, what is his name? Firefly could also be from Batman's Rogues Gallery, be funly used. Um, Atomic Skull. Atomic Skull, in my mind, could be like the equivalent of Ghost Rider. So he could go on and be a hero, but he's not. And how they are to go on and just every single time just have this character just look bigger and larger and goofier just doesn't make sense to me. Like, you really need to just slim down that character instead of making him bigger and broader, and it just makes no sense. I wish they can slim down this character because it doesn't make any sense anymore how big and massive he is. But I consistently from time to time see Atomic Skull getting used in certain movies and such, which goes on and makes me go, like, I wish that this character go on and get used on a seemingly more regular basis. So Atomic Skull is just really fun for my eyes. Black Mask could also be a character that could be like used more in the Batman world, in my opinion, because Black Mask is to go on and be a character that was used in like some Red Hood DLC, and I was like, man, that sucks. Like, he's to go on and be used in like the Under the Red Hood animated movie. I was like, huzzah! Like, thank God we're using him there, because if you use him in Birds of Prey, like that character was just like, what are we doing? What are we doing with this character? Like, like a third of the film is just like Ewan McGregor, and then he just puts on a mask, and he's still Ewan McGregor. Like I don't buy Ewan McGregor as a villain whatsoever, but for some reason he just ended up being a villain in that movie. Uh, yeah, just the worst I feel uh superhero movie villain performance I've probably ever seen, and people can probably debate that with me. Uh, Multiplex is kind of a character that is kind of like if you've ever watched the show, I think the Batman. There was at one point a character called Everywhere Man that kind of multiplied himself. Um and I had used, I think, Multiple Man in the Marvel list of villains. Multiplex is to go on and just kind of duplicate himself, and I thought Multiplex was just kind of an interesting villain name that eventually could have an interesting bit of power. Seven Men of Death was actually a really interesting, just visual character, and also these characters are tied with Ra's al Ghul, so there's something that you can kind of do with the Lazarus Pit, or you can go on and do something with Ra's al Ghul here, with the League of Assassins, and then also these Seven Men of Death. Could be a really fun bit of characters. The Tornado Twins just looked like a very interesting visual here, as well as the Double Dare, like twin girls that are from I think the Robin story. Like just twin stories could be really fun to use here. White Martians. We could have Miss Marvel that turns evil and turns rogue, and that could be a really interesting story. But also, the White Martians, I think, were just kind of really interesting to just kind of see, like, okay, like, let's have some evil Martian Manhunter kind of things, and, like, let's use that in the story. Uh, we could also have the Court of Owls or the Talons being used in the story somehow. Because I actually really did like the New 52 approach of Batman, where they had the Court of Owls, and like they tried as much as possible to continue to come back to the Court of Owls, but they also forgot about it a lot. So it would actually be really nice if a story like reincorporated those characters and brought them back in, and made them a legitimate threat, in my opinion. Royal Flush Gang is always a really cool gang that it's getting used from time to time. They end up getting used in an animated movie to kind of start off the movie. We also get to see them in eventually shows like Arrow. Uh, from time to time, they end up getting used, but uh, I think of there's at some point where they also get used in the like Justice League at some point. Um, but I do know that they are also used in Batman Beyond. Uh, Really, it would kind of be nice to like have these characters be kind of a consistent threat, and plus, I just like the card theme. Metal Men. I'm not quite sure if this is exactly a I think yeah, I think that this is a DC group. I got a little confused about exactly who these characters were. But Metal Men, like I like the fact that this is a whole armored team, and in my mind, I was thinking that these characters can go rogue, even though they probably are heroes. Uh, eh, yeah, just visually cool. Let's move on. Catman. Catman, like I think has gone on to have me consistently hope that he ends up getting used, and he never really does. Like I'm looking at you, freaking Batwoman show. I'm looking at you. Any number of stories that they could have had this character and they didn't. Suicide Squad ends up using this character, and I was happy about that. But there's always consistent times where I'm looking where this character is going to get used more, and he doesn't. So if he never goes on and gets used because everybody's looking at Catwoman and just being like, why do you need Catman? That seems kind of like why not just have Catwoman? It's probably a better character. I don't know. For some reason, I just liked the visuals of this character. He looked rather interesting, and also you can just kind of have just an interesting cat character. Bleez is a red lantern that, if anything, is to really just be a visually interesting Red Lantern character. And also, you can go on to finally have a Red Lantern that is forced to just be stuck on Earth, besides maybe a Guy Gardner character. And I feel that you need some kind of Red Lantern presence on Earth, so maybe it might end up being Bleez that ends up being forced to just be stuck on Earth, uh, and just kind of create some trouble for herself because she's just so bored just being on this planet. So Bleez's story, once you come to find out about it, is very dark and very disturbing. Uh, but as well as also just kind of looking at her is very dark and disturbing, anyways. For how she goes on and has those wings and how she consistently has this kind of like bloodish like thing coming from her mouth, which of course is to not actually be blood. It's to be kind of the thing that Red Lanterns just have coming out of their mouths, bizarrely. Uh, Whether they eventually retcon that or not, because it's kind of a visual that may go on and not be pleasing to everybody, but everybody loves Red Lanterns, so it works out for the best of them. Clarion. This is a character that goes on and eventually gets used in Young Justice. Clarion goes on and wants to have only children exist on planet Earth, and so Clarion goes on to make it so that only children exist on planet Earth, and so what ends up happening is Shazam ends up going on to uh, be on two parts of the Earth that he's kind of going on and talking to the Justice League, and then Shazamming, and then talking to Young Justice, and trying to figure out what their plan is. And that story was really entertaining for that bit of story. Uh, and also, I'm probably thinking of the wrong person of who this ultimate villain was, but uh, this character is to be very much a wizard Esh-like character, very high level character, a big threat, so could be well used. We could have also had Captain Atom become a villain of this story, a very radioactive character that kind of gives this unique power set of character to be put into the show or put into this comic book. And then also, I think that it's like I feel that if anybody's to get robbed, as far as like a character that could actually be well used, it's probably Captain Atom. When looking at uh, Justice League for the Justice League Unlimited run, like how Captain Atom ends up going on to lead like Supergirl and Green Arrow in the beginning of that story, I'm like, man, this guy could be a really good leader, and it makes sense. But then again, like he eventually gets defeated by the foe, and it kind of leaves just Green Arrow to have to figure out how to beat this character, beat this monster. Uh, but still, could be a rather interesting character that you can kind of use anywhere and plug anywhere, and like he'll work. Plus, also his power set is very vague that you just don't quite know exactly what it is. It seems so. You can retcon Captain Atom and just kind of make him more powerful, or make him much more of a legitimate threat. Deadshot. Uh, Deadshot, I honestly wanted him to actually really just legitimately get used here, just because I wanted to see like how this team would react to a foe that can be very accurate and also could gunfire. Like, what could gunfire do to this kind of team? Also, you could have Deadshot, who's to be the sniper and can kind of make us worried that any number of this team could go on and die at any moment. So it kind of can keep you kind of on the edge of your seat as far as the story is concerned. Um, Parasite is basically like a Mazo, so copy and paste everything that I said in a Mazo to Parasite. Parasite has been well used in certain comic book stories, as well as also getting stupidly used in the Superman and Lois show. And logically, I was so just upset about that. Bizarro. Bizarro, like obviously, if you need a Kryptonian in the story, why not have Bizarro? Like I like Bizarro; he's a fun character, and I feel that he always gets well used. He also was in the Red Hood and the Outlaws or whatever story, and I think I was like, oh my god, like Bizarro in this story, like that made me get intrigued about Red Hood again, just to see like Bizarro being used on that team. Because I'm like, man, what a good way to use a character. Bravo for Bizarro getting used in that comic book. The Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter, I think, really in all of the Batman Arkham villains, I think Mad Hatter had a lot of potential, but I don't think was to get properly used in that story because I had never gone on and actually sought him out in the game because it seemed that his time in that game was kind of used ever so briefly, and then you completely forgot that he existed. And so yeah, I never remember him ever being in the games besides this one little brief little point where like Batman like rushes through this one area and then like they set up Mad Hatter, but I'm like, okay, where is Mad Hatter in the game? Like I'm so baffled and confused about how he exists. Disappointingly. Uh Clayface, Mr. Freeze, and Scarecrow, I've already kind of said that. Red Tornado could be really interesting as probably a weather villain, like he was used in Supergirl. Yeah, I think it was Supergirl. Yeah, Supergirl. Uh, you could go on and state that Tornado could be really well used in any way of this show existing. And like Tornado can go on and kind of really, Red Tornado can go on and kind of bring the tide to any story. Regardless of the power set of the characters. Like if you had Red Tornado against Giganta, like Red Tornado could be a good threat there. Uh, so regardless of whoever the villain is, Red Tornado could be a good threat. Metamorpho. Metamorpho is going on and seemingly getting used in the Superman film that is coming out soon or coming out now. So, whoa. Metamorpho is to go on and have like a number of different kind of things to his Rolodex that he can use. He's this elemental character. And I didn't want Firestorm on here because I don't really care for the visuals of Firestorm. Like Firestorm has like the nuclear family that ended up getting used in the Titans show that I really did actually like them getting used. At some point, Firestorm does face off against the nuclear family in some animated stuff, and I liked that. Um, but I would go on and probably use the nuclear family instead of Firestorm. I just don't like Firestorm. I think for a split personality character, like just like his visuals suck. Like there's nothing about him that I'm to look at him and just be like, I can do something with. But I feel that Metamorpho like is very different. Like I feel I can do a lot with this character, and it's strange because they're the exact same thing in a lot of ways. Um, but Metamorpho has this kind of like Mr. Fantastic thing about him. He is to go on and just have like the ability to just kind of create gas or smoke scenarios. Metamorpho is really cool. So moving on. Power Girl. Uh, and I think this will be last, surprisingly. Power Girl is to probably have a certain bit of assets that is to kind of give her reasoning for having her to be used anywhere. Let's just say, but Power Girl also uh, could be a really interesting character that you can actually use to kind of be a character that is to be uh, like a very helpful character because we can always kind of retcon or we can always kind of change what her power set is. We can kind of always kind of um, make us realize that she's kind of a Supergirl kind of character, and we can play around with that. Uh, Power Girl can go on and end up being a character that can be used any way of which that you can go on and want to use her. Like when she was used in an animated movie, it seems that she was rivaled against Superman, but she really didn't want to go on and really didn't want to defeat Superman. And so, like, really, like, she was starting to switch sides, and she ended up, like, siding with Superman and was trying to get Captain Atom to kind of stop going up against Superman. And then that started to change Captain Atom to be like, like, you know what, I really don't think I should go on and fight Superman. And then Major Force was just kind of getting very upset. And yeah, so we could probably have Power Girl be written any number of ways where like maybe she doesn't want to go on and do what she's doing, but like maybe this is not under her control. Maybe she's forced. Maybe uh because we want to go on and have a character that like doesn't always have to be just this one um way of writing a character, and so Power Girl could end up just being that. But again, like Power Girl can just be so widely used, even though she's probably not in the comic books, sadly enough. That is the more reason of me noting to have her being put on here. So with that said, I'm going to get the heck out of here so I can go on and put this out. I didn't put out the Marvel thing either, so I'll probably have to just slap both of these out on the same exact day and have two videos be put out. But let me know in the comments below your favorite comic book characters. And I do realize that this is probably almost a 2 hour and change thing, and probably nobody probably watched this whole thing. But anyways, because when I sort of just rattle off just names of characters, it's like probably a lot of people is like, okay, like he's just kind of just uh, running off names of things and just like, ugh, like no one cares about this. But with that said, I'm gonna get that out of here so I can go on and just have another video to put out. Surprisingly, this was like the one actual video that or videos that surprisingly was something that I was thinking in my mind. Is like, okay, this is a cool idea. This could be a video that I can put out and something different that I've been doing. And surprisingly, this one actually made it to the final draft of me actually doing the video and having it be done. Simply because in the past, like I would have these ideas for these videos, and then just while I was starting to do it, I'd realize how stupid it was, and then I'd realize that like, well, this is a review channel, and that I should only go on and do that. So, yeah, so like it started to become that like a lot of these ideas that I kind of had in my mind just didn't come to pen to paper, but luckily somehow these just kind of became a thing. But eventually we'll also go on and we'll get back into movie and show reviews. I'm hoping to eventually go on and do some animated DC stuff, or also finally cover some Marvel animated things, but do also realize that it's been quite a bit of days now, and I should probably actually cover certain things that I've kind of been not getting into because of just how much time I've taken to do this project. But also, I want to go on and have some kind of unique films that I think I can cover on this channel that probably will have no one care about them, but Still just kind of rolling with these projects. So on that, I'm gonna get that out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.